Thunder Bay, and welcome to Giant Dreams Under Construction, the show that focuses on positive people in our community working towards building their dreams. Today we have a lifesaver for our guest, figuratively and literally. We have Nitz here, who is a paramedic with Superior North EMS here in Thunder Bay, and she's been a paramedic for over a decade. I've also known her for my entire life, and she's a woman who's known what she's wanted pretty much as far back as I can remember. So Dawn, welcome to the show today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So how long have you actually been a paramedic for here?
15 years.
And you're quite young. You're 36?
Yes.
So you knew right out of high school that you wanted to be a paramedic then, right? Or
I knew through high school because there's courses that you have to take in high school to go to college. So I probably knew in grade 9 what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something in medicine, and I went through the whole thoughts about being a nurse and all of that, and then I just came back to EMS. It just seemed exciting to me.
Well, I remember, like I said, we've known each other for forever, since diapers, really. Mm-hmm. And I remember when all of us in high school and school were buying, Goosebumps books and Sweet Valley High books through the Scholastic book orders. You were buying Rescue 911 books and first aid books and stuff, and that was when we were young.
Yeah.
So, like you've always known that you were going to get into health.
Yeah.
And did you find that, like you said that you were kind of debating between nurse and paramedics, what kind of was the appeal to be a paramedic over a nurse or a doctor or something else?
I think the appeal was not having somebody over my shoulder all the time, being first to make patient contact. I feel like in EMS, we're the first people that somebody in their most vulnerable state sees. And I feel like for me, that's very special. And you're at their worst, you're trying to make them better first. Like you're the first person that they see and they're like, thank goodness. And it makes you feel good to do that part of your job.
Was there anything that, like you've always been like the mother of our friend group and everything, but was there anything that really made you, that like sent it home to you, where you're like, no, I'm going to be a paramedic? Or was it just you with your logical thoughts, no, this is the best fit for me? How did that work?
I think it was probably, it had to be both for me. Like I needed something that fit me the best, and then I needed something that was different. I needed something that excited me every day. And I needed something that was going to make me feel like I was making a difference in someone's life. And I know every job you make a difference in some way or another, but for me, that's what I needed.
You save lives. That's a huge difference in someone's life. That's a big difference. Now, you were saying that there's courses that you have to take in high school to prepare for this. So what were some of those courses? Like, is it a special math or science or what?
I'm sure it's different now, but when I was in school, we needed a biology, a grade 12 biology, I believe. You needed your math all the way through high school. And that might have been it. Now I think there's a few more courses that you need. I think there might be chemistry in there now, and a couple of other things, but I'm not entirely sure for right now.
Well, you've been a paramedic for 15 years. I know even in my profession, like things change quite rapidly. So now you took a year off after you graduated high school. I believe you graduated 2000, year 2000?
Yes. Yeah.
And so you took a year off, and then did you go right into the paramedics program at Con College, or was there something else? Or?
No, I went into Con College, and the only reason I took a year off is because at that time, which I don't think is the same now, you had to be 18 to get into the paramedic program, and I was only 17 years old.
Okay, so that's something important to know. I didn't know that that's the whole reason why you took the year off.
You might be able to get in at 17 now, but then you couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was the course at Con College like? Like, I know you guys, like, there's obviously a lot of health things you have to learn. Like, is it similar to nursing or somebody becoming a doctor? Because like you have to deal with almost everything on your job.
Well, we only have 2 years for college. So nurses, it depends what level of nursing, but if you're going for your RN, your registered nurse, it's 4 years at university. And then a doctor it could be many years of university. So it's not the course load and the degree are not the same. We get a diploma, but you go into the program not knowing anything about medicine, and you come out a paramedic that we diagnose heart attacks, and we do a lot of treatment for symptoms that people are presenting. The heart attacks that we do diagnose, we actually send right to a cardiologist so that these patients can go up to the cath lab instead of going through emerge and then up first, which is huge time saver for those patients. We give a lot of life-saving medications. We do a lot of life-saving procedures without anybody with a higher experience over our shoulder, like a doctor, right?
Well, you guys are just like spur of the moment, literally.
Yeah. We do have protocols that we have to follow that a doctor certifies us on, but in the field, we have to make sure that we know and are following the right protocol. We make the decision of where we're going.
That's kind of that's really high pressure. Like,
it is.
Like it's not like in my job, if I cut a piece of wood wrong, yeah, it kind of sucks, but you know, I can still go cut another one. If you guys do something wrong, like it's huge, right? Like so you really need and you have to redo training every year. Is that right? Or
I have to be recertified twice a year, so every 6 months, and then we do continued medical education multiple times a year.
What do you mean by that?
So we learn new stuff all the time. So tomorrow I have to recertify, and we're learning more about sepsis or septic shock. Whereas other times we learned how to do our 12-lead training. We learned how to do like tracheostomy suctioning or whatever, you know, like things that just continue our education, advance our skill set more. When I first started, we didn't have intravenous access for the PCPs, which is what I am. And over the last, I would say, I don't know, maybe 8 years, we've had it.
Okay.
For PCPs, which broadens my patient care toolbox.
I don't know what PCP is.
Primary care paramedic.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break right now, and then when we come back, we're going to talk more about the physical requirements and this new heart attack program that you guys have introduced through SNEMS, Superior North EMS. So we will be right back after these messages. We are back with our second segment of Giant Dreams Under Construction, and with our guest, Dawn Nitz, who is a paramedic here in Thunder Bay with Superior North EMS. Our last segment, we were talking about the training requirements and what you have to go through. So what are some of the physical expectations with your job? So on top of the medical training, you guys have to be physically fit. Like you're lifting people constantly. So what are the typical requirements for you guys?
Well, there is a fitness course and test through the college that you have to pass to graduate. I'm not sure what that entails now. There was a run when I had to do it, and a bunch of lifting, pushing, pulling, those weighted exercise that we have to do. To be hired, you have to do a fitness test as well. It's called the Archon test, which they do. I believe they bring it to Thunder Bay when we're doing a big hire. Otherwise, you have to go down to Southern Ontario to do that. And then as far as what happens when you're done those tests, you're just required to stay fit. To stay fit to be able to do your job. Because the injuries are huge on the job. Your back, your knees, your shoulders.
Well, you guys are lifting people, and it's not just children or small people, like some of the people.
Yeah.
And I know like this was something that was in the newspaper, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even further. But I remember you were one of the paramedics that had to attend a plane crash site. And so you were actually, it was your back that was the big picture in the paper, but you had to walk through the forest to get to the actual site and then bring the pilot. And was there a passenger, or was it? So you and your partners had to bring the people out.
And it was snow. It was winter, so the snow was really deep.
So that's something that would be hard to train for. It's almost like a strongman competition that you kind of have to train for this. But like, so that in itself shows like, and did you have to carry the people out on a stretcher, or did you?
We carried them out on our backboard, and our backboard is a lot lighter than our stretcher. It's probably about maybe 20 pounds, the backboard.
That's the big yellow board?
Yeah, and but then you put a 200-pound man on that backboard and carry it out for 4 hours. That's how long that call took us, was 4 hours. Because we needed breaks, of course, and
well, no doubt, yeah.
And we were deep into the bush, so it took a long time.
But everybody was okay.
Everybody was okay. All the patients were in fantastic condition considering the events that they went through. It was kind of shocking, actually.
Well, that was, like I said, it was all over the news that time.
Yeah.
I know you can't talk about your calls in general due to confidentiality, but I know that one was quite publicized, and you happened to be the paramedic that was in the newspaper.
Yeah.
For that. Now, you were talking, before the show, we were talking, you guys have a new heart, I don't know if I'm going to say this properly, but like a heart attack program or something like that. What would you call that?
So we've been kind of phasing into this over the past couple of years once we started learning about 12-lead ECGs, which is basically an extensive picture of your heart. If you've ever been to the hospital and had to have all those stickers all over your chest, and they'd sometimes stick them on your wrist and your ankles as well, that's an electrocardiogram. That's a 12-lead. So we do that in the ambulance, and we've been doing that for years. And I would say about over the last year, we have been introducing what we call a STEMI bypass protocol. A STEMI is a kind of heart attack. It's called ST elevation myocardial infarction. And it is when there's elevation in certain parts of our ECG strip, which they print out, which shows us or tells us that there is lack of blood flow to a certain part of the heart, and we can narrow it down to the arteries that are blocked with this.
So now, being a paramedic for 15 years and this being new technology that you're able to use on the go, have you noticed a big technology or technological change over your 15 years being a paramedic? Like, do you have a lot more access to the tools that you need to deal with things then compared to before? Or
Wi-Fi alone,
really?
We have it in our ambulances now. So with this new protocol that we're doing, these printouts that we have, we can actually, from the ambulance, as soon as we get it, email it to a cardiologist. That cardiologist will read it and then phone us and tell us, yes, it's a STEMI, which is the heart attack that we're trying to diagnose, bring them straight up to the cardiac cath lab, where these people can be catheterized almost immediately, which in our world, time is heart muscle.
Yeah.
The more time it takes for catheterization, the more heart muscle dies. So this is huge for us.
That does sound big. Like that.
It's a huge deal.
Well, and it probably alleviates a lot of stress on the emergency room, and it's probably like a butterfly effect just to have this, I wouldn't call it simple technology, but to have access to this technology on the go.
Yeah.
I know you guys have a lot of equipment. I thank you for bringing your bag. I don't even, you were saying that there's like your...
It's like our personal protective equipment in here. So I have my like helmet, and we have all of our protection for like when we were having that Ebola scare.
Yeah.
Everything for a potential Ebola call is in here, where we are basically gowned from the head to our toes.
And this goes with you everywhere.
This I have to have. It's a required piece of equipment that I have to bring every day to work.
And how heavy do you figure this bag is just in itself?
That bag's probably 30 pounds.
So on top of is this the typical gear that you wear, or do you have to have your stethoscope and you?
My stethoscope's in here, but I usually have it in the front of the ambulance with me.
And you get to drive the ambulance too, right?
That's one of my favorite parts.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I bet. And do you have, like, when you get kids in there that aren't in like a critical state, sometimes do you put the lights on just for them, or do you try and help your patients out and make them feel a little calmer, or play around with them? Or
kids are hard because they love an ambulance at like a fair or at a playground or whatever for fun.
Yeah.
But they don't like an ambulance to ride in it. It's weird. You don't really think that a child would be upset about it, but they tend to be upset. So we carry these little stuffed moose that are dressed in our uniform that say Superior North EMS
I didn't
on
know
them.
that. That's awesome.
So we give those out to the kids. So that helps. Plus, I mean, with me, I have children, so it's easy for me to try and relate and try to calm them. And they tend to gravitate towards me. I mean, there's some that don't, but the lights don't usually help them. But we have other things to try and help them.
Okay, and that's a perfect segue into our next segment. So we're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be right back with Don Nitz, our local paramedic lifesaver. We are back with Giant Dreams Under Construction. We have Don Nitz, Superior North EMS paramedic, here with us today. At the end of our last segment, we were talking about how kids are in the ambulance, and that some of them gravitate towards you because you have kids. Now you're a full-time paramedic for 15 years, and you have 4 children of your own. You have 2 boys and of your own, and then you have 2 stepchildren, a boy and a girl, all under the age of 10, all interested in sports and typical kid stuff and birthday parties and everything. How do you manage to do this?
With a lot of help.
Now, I know your mom, and you have a big family, and your spouse is quite good, but it's 4 kids all under 10. Your house, I know for a fact, is kind of wild.
Yes.
In a good way. But you actually went through some hard stuff with your first child. You're a paramedic yourself. You're very well aware of health and all that. And something happened that was completely out of your control. Your son was born almost 6 weeks premature. And with that, he had some heart issues and some other issues because he was premature. Like, being a trained professional, how did you cope with all of that? Or did your training just go out the window and you were just totally momming that?
You would think that my training would have helped me cope with all of that, but it really didn't. I turned into mom. It was mommy mode. It was almost like you forget how to do what you do and what you have done since before I had children. Long before I had children, I was doing this job in so many aspects. Like, my son being born early now has severe anaphylactic allergies to certain things. And when he had an anaphylactic crisis one time, I was the same way. I was on the phone with 911, even though I had just walked in the door from work, and I knew exactly what to do. But in that moment, it's almost like you forget because it's your child, because your emotions take over.
Yeah. At
work, I know how to keep my emotions in check because I can disassociate because I don't know the people.
Yeah.
So I treat them as I would want to treat my own family, but there's no emotion attached in the sense of this is my child, or this is my mom, or this is like the attachment like that. So it's easy for me to disassociate in that way. But yeah, at home, unless it's a minor or moderately bad illness, I go right into mama bear mode if it's something severe.
Even for us, like hanging out as friends, we go camping quite often together, and you have your first aid kit. And anybody gets a fishing hook in them or anything like that, there's paramedic Dawn right there. But I do remember when Jackson had that allergic reaction, how panicked you were.
Yes.
Do you think that maybe those experiences help you to help other mothers though, when they're dealing with that? Like, have you noticed that?
At work?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's easy for me to disassociate at work. So, but I can also share my experiences with that mother as well. I find that when you can share your experiences with somebody, it kind of comforts them. You're not trying to tell them, oh, you should act this way because this is how I acted. You're just basically saying, it's okay. I know what you're going through. I'm here to help you.
Yeah, which is a lot of times all somebody really needs to hear or
Yeah.
just get a hug. Now, you work very closely, just so everybody knows, Jackson is a big, healthy boy now, and he's a good big brother to his 3 younger siblings, and their dog, Berkeley. So just so everybody knows, her boys and her stepdaughter are all healthy and good. But I wanted to ask you, you work closely with other first responders, like the fire department and the police department. So when somebody calls 911, you guys all rush out typically.
Yes.
And I know that there's a lot of budget talk debates and, you know, people saying, oh, you should cut this, you should cut that. But you guys are in code black quite a bit with the ambulances
Yes.
and first response. What is a code black and what does that mean?
So code black is specific to us. It's when there are no ambulances in the city left to respond to emergency calls. And that happens a lot. Like, I would say almost daily.
Which is scary. So
Yeah.
you guys actually do rely on the other first responders like the fire department and the police department
Yes.
For when you can't get there because, you know, police and fire are trained with first aid and you were saying the fire department is trained in, what is it, cardiac? Or?
No, they come and assist us on our respiratory calls because they can deliver oxygen.
Okay.
And they also come to our cardiac arrest calls because they can do CPR and they have all of the equipment for oxygen and to perform CPR properly.
So please don't cut any of our first response services. I'm just going to say, because you guys all do work together,
Yes.
almost in like a synchronicity. But you guys are the first on a lot of traumatic scenes, and I know that you yourself have been open about PTSD and your coworkers and from other first response organizations. What are the services that are available for you guys? Because you guys do see and have to deal with a lot of stuff most of us would only see in movies. Like,
Yeah.
what's available out there for you? Is your employer supportive of PTSD support? And
So this is all really new, the whole recognizing post-traumatic stress disorder in emergency services. It's only become a recognized thing over the past few years, and before that it existed, but it was basically the suck it up mentality.
Yeah.
Do your job, this is your job, you chose this, suck it up. Well, I mean, after 15 years, you can't just suck it up anymore. You see so much trauma and heartache, and you can't just get rid of your human emotions. So we've been working a lot with a lot of mental health organizations and a lot of psychologists to come up with programs to help us. We have EFAP, which is counseling through our work, which is free. We also have peer support. So we have specific people that are also medics that are there to help if you need to talk. We also now, very recently, we have a wellness coordinator who his job is to do everything and find everything, all of the resources that we need for our mental health.
which is very important
Yeah.
because you guys need to keep you need to keep your head in the game when you're in those extreme situations.
And
but
and
you still
people
have
need
a
to,
heart, though.
Exactly, and people need to know that, like we need to know that within ourselves, that it's okay to be broken sometimes.
Yeah.
It's easier to pick yourself up and dust yourself off when you recognize that you just saw something terrible, and talk about it, than to hold it all in until it destroys you, because it can.
Well, I'm glad you guys have the resources, and I'm glad your employers are aware of these facts and are right in there trying to help you guys, because you are a very important part of our community. Like really, first responders, you guys have some of the worst jobs, but in the end, like you must feel great at the end of the day knowing that you helped people.
It's rewarding, that's for sure.
Well, I want to, normally I ask for a quote at the end, but I think you said a lot here, and you gave a lot of people a lot of information on how they could become a paramedic and, what the job is like. And I just want to say a big thank you from myself and from everybody I know in our community, and especially Shaw. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for putting yourselves out there and helping us when we're in need and doing the things that a lot of us can't or won't ever do. Like, you guys really are everyday heroes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you guys for tuning in for another show of Giant Dreams Under Construction, and we will see you next time.